Good evening, America, and welcome to this Just the News, Real America's Voice special report, Legislating for Life, the next 12 months. I'm your host, John Solomon, and tonight, in partnership with our sponsor, Heritage Action for America, we are going to explore and discuss the Supreme Court's recent decision to overturn Roe v. Wade and return the question of whether to allow abortions back to the states. Now, despite an inside source leaking the draft decision to the mainstream media, causing irrefutable institutional damage, on June 24, 2022, the United States Supreme Court took decisive action with Justice Alito releasing the court's majority 6-3 decision reversing Roe v. Wade. The landmark case, titled Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, has touched off a political firestorm in our country. In some cases, conservative Supreme Court justices have had their lives threatened, like Brett Kavanaugh. Pro-life and pro-choice groups continue to march in the streets in major cities to advocate for the right to life or to choose. And with citizens in the street, professional lobbyists, lawyers, doctors, and activists continue to negotiate with state lawmakers and governors, as it's now incumbent upon the states to write or rewrite their laws ahead of the November elections. And with those midterm elections looming, registered U.S. voters consider this to be a bigger issue than it has been in prior election years. Recent polling found that 27% of registered voters say their candidate must share the same view as them on abortion, while 54% of voters say it will be one of the many important factors when they cast a ballot. Symbolic measures have also haven't slowed down at the federal level either. Just 2 weeks ago, Speaker Nancy Pelosi held a vote in the House to codify a woman's right to an abortion, which passed. However, the Senate Majority Leader, Schumer's chamber, failed to pass the Women's Health Protection Act in May, so that has come to a standstill. Now, our first guest tonight is not only a U.S. Senator who voted against the federal law to legalize abortion, he also is a proud conservative father and grandfather who has worked in healthcare as a physician and delivered, get a load of this, delivered more than 5,000 babies, many from the great state of Kansas. Referred to him affectionately as Doc Marshall. He is Senator Roger Marshall. Senator, great to have you on the show today.
John, I can't wait. A great topic here. We're the voice for those who don't have a voice. Thanks for all that you do. And I know your listeners are going to learn something today, and we just look forward to sharing a message of hope with them.
Yeah, this is such an important issue, and it's also important to get rid of a lot of the myths that surround this issue, because there's a lot of them built up in the media. But I want to start with something you did right at the beginning of this legislative session. You introduced a bill to protect life, to protect the life of the unborn. Tell us a little bit about that and where it stands in the Senate.
Well, protecting life up here is certainly a challenge. And we're going to do whatever we can to protect life. I believe life begins at conception. Let me just say that up front. A pro-life physician, I've always been pro-life. That's what I was taught in Bible school. So we look forward to protecting life whatever level we can. Certainly the challenges going forward, though, is just stopping this radical left agenda, abortion on demand of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, absolutely. People are really fired up to have that conversation, to have that debate. And of course, it occurs in the shadows of a very important election where the control of Congress is clearly up for grabs. Your take on what you think where voters are on this and how big a role this might play in the upcoming elections?
Well, certainly the issue of life is important to Christians and so many people everywhere. But really back home, the issue is inflation, inflation, inflation. It's the price of gasoline. I think that this will be battled out at the state levels now, the life issue. So I think it's if you really based upon surveying, it's not the determining factor for very many people. It's maybe number 7, 8, or 9 for most people in determining who they're going to vote for. So it's personally very important to me and many Christians, but maybe not as important as the price of gasoline is to others.
Yes, I think that's right. And the polling that we're all beginning to see. Now, that said, there are a lot of myths about this in this debate, many of them created by the media. There's the question of, well, people who have ectopic pregnancies now may not be able to get help, that it's automatically banned in all 50 states. You served in those emergency rooms delivering babies in the maternity wards. Tell us about some of the myths and the truths that you saw as a doctor on the front lines.
Right, John. Well, we were taught the very first week of residency, don't let the sun set on an ectopic pregnancy. An ectopic pregnancy is life-threatening. The moment you diagnose it, you need to be making a plan to take care of the situation, taking care of an ectopic pregnancy is not an abortion. I think the Catholic Church agrees with that. Every minister I talk to agrees with that. Theologians of the Bible all agree that taking care of an ectopic pregnancy is not an abortion, and the mother's life is truly at stake. And the other myth out there is taking care of miscarriages. Look, unfortunately, I took care of miscarriages every week. 1 out of 3 women have had a miscarriage. Some studies say 1 out of 2 women have had a miscarriage. So your doctors are still going to take care of women with ectopic pregnancies, with miscarriages. And I think they're going to have the full blessing of the church behind them. And certainly I feel very comfortable going forward that pro-life doctors have always taken care of miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies. They're going to continue to do that going forward.
Yeah, so that's just a big red herring that's been bantied about in the media the last few weeks. It's really shameful. It's good to get the straight story on that from someone who knows. In March of this year, you introduced the Ultrasound-Informed Consent Act, requiring abortion providers to perform an obstetric ultrasound and make the heartbeat audible before abortion. Tell us a little bit why you did that and how much of that is based on your experience in the delivery room.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying that half of women that see an ultrasound of their baby will decide not to have the abortion. And I think when they do that ultrasound, they see that this baby is a real living being. It's got a heartbeat. Oftentimes, by the time they're seeing the sonogram, the baby has fingers and toes. And even like at 15 weeks, 14, 15 weeks, you see the baby start responding to the mother's voice, where you'll see the baby's heart rate pick up when the baby hears mom talk, or maybe there's a brother or sister in the room. And we kind of push on the abdomen of the mom to try to get the baby in a different angle. We'll kind of see the baby push back. So I think it just really, a picture paints 1,000 words, right? So what I'm really concerned about right now are these abortion pills. There's doctors from out of the country that are setting up telemedicine, and they're prescribing these abortion pills without doing sonograms first. They have no idea how far along the baby really is. So I think that giving those abortion pills, they're only approved, I think, up to about 11 weeks. I've never used them, but I think what the FDA says is about 11 weeks. And after 11 weeks, they're not as effective. So I think that this medicine could cause anomalies for the baby as well, fetal anomalies, and not cause the miscarriage. The further along you are, the less effective the drug is at causing the abortion, but it might cause birth defects. So I'm always trying to protect the mom and the baby, John. That's what my whole life has been centered around professionally, is to protect and take care, to fight for the life of mom and baby.
Yeah, such an important mission. I want to turn to the abortion industry for a second. A few years ago, one of your colleagues, Senator Chuck Grassley, made a referral to the Justice Department based on some pretty compelling evidence that groups like Planned Parenthood may have been selling fetal tissue from abortions illegally into the marketplace. Not much has happened. It sort of came to a standstill. But based on all of your experience, what do you see as some of the ethical issues inside the abortion industry today?
Well, certainly Planned Parenthood is an abortion clinic. I'm just going to share a quick story with your listeners. Nurse came and got me in the middle of a busy day and said there's a 14-year-old girl in room number whatever it was, and she's crying. She's really upset. And I said, okay, great. I walked in and I said, well, tell me what's going on, young lady. And she said, well, I went to Planned Parenthood to get a pregnancy test, and they scheduled her for an abortion. And she was in my office saying, I don't want an abortion. Do I have to go through with that abortion? And, unfortunately, that story plays out, that Planned Parenthood really is an abortion clinic. The Planned Parenthood is closing down in all these trigger law states. They said they're there for women to help with family planning and this and their health and all this, but really they're abortion clinics. That's, I think, the super huge amount of their money is from that. They don't care about the health of the mom. I'm very concerned going forward. As I was before, Kansas passed laws to help protect the health of the mom. But going forward in the legislation that Nancy Pelosi wants to pass, they want to allow abortions to be done in non-surgical suites. So they can be done in a hotel room. They can be done in a garage. They're not holding them up to standards. They're going to let non-doctors do the abortions as well. So really, the abortion industry has no bounds on what they might do.
Yeah, it's remarkable to see. And there was an amazing report out of Minnesota recently that just went into all the statistics of the abortion industry and what happens in each instance. Very eye-opening. So you're clearly a man of great deep faith. Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and others claim to have that same faith, but they're on the other side of this argument on abortion. How do people who go to church and are told that abortion's unethical, immoral, still go into the public square and try to defend it? How frustrating is that to see that in your own chamber?
Yeah, John, I really struggle. We know it's a sin to take communion if we don't confess our sins. I don't have an explanation. We're told not to judge people, and certainly it's not my job to judge other folks. But then I think there's other places where Paul said, look, if there's people within your church that are not being faithful, then they need to be pushed out of the church as well. So I'm just at a loss to say it. It struggles in my heart how a person could take communion after encouraging and providing for abortions. I don't get it. God will have to be the judge, not me.
Yeah, that is good advice. Well, sir, it is a great honor. I know next year, if Republicans get control of Congress, a lot of these legislations you put together are finally going to get the attention that they deserve and the progress that they deserve. We're going to be following that real closely right here.
Thanks, John. And I want to ask your listeners to go to our website, marshall.senate.gov. Sign up for a newsletter. People ask me all the time, where can I get news that you can rely upon? So my staff does a really good job of trying to speak just the truth, give just the news. So that's marshall.senate.gov. I've enjoyed being on with you and just wish the best and going forward with this fight, trying to protect the sanctity of life.
That's a really valuable resource, folks. Go check it out, Senator. Thank you. Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more discussion about the extraordinary debate in America over abortion rights. We'll be right back after this.